The Dershow.
I predicted before the debate, you heard me, that this is going to be a conflict between substance and style, between principles and personality. And if Trump had stuck to the principles, he wins. He wins on the economy. He wins on borders. He wins on Afghanistan. He wins on Israel. He wins on almost every issue of concern. But he loses on style and personality. And tragically, that's what debates are all about. You remember reading about, I remember very vividly, the debate between Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy. And if you listened on the radio, as many of us did, because in those days, television wasn't as pervasive as it is today. If you listened on the radio, there's no question Nixon won. He was better advised, better informed, had more experience. He knew Quemoy and Matsu, the two islands off China. He knew about Cuba. He knew about the economy. He was a smart guy. So if you listen on the radio, it wasn't even close. Nixon won over Kennedy. But if you watch it on television, Kennedy won because he had a better fitting suit, better shave, a better haircut, and all in all was more charming. And so it made a difference. And I suspect last night, if you heard it on the radio, I think it would have been closer. But Trump's supposed to be a master of the media. He should have understood that television is a hot media. And, you're better off moving away, letting her make her case, and then responding with a few well-rehearsed quips. Problem with Trump is he doesn't rehearse. He thinks he's the best debater in the world. And he, is the most experienced debater. Nobody has had as many presidential debates in the history of the country as he has. Didn't show it last night. Last night, he was the old Donald Trump. And we all thought after Trump was shot and almost killed, that would be a life-changing experience for him. And it was for a couple of days. But the real Trump comes out. I say the real Trump because it's not clear to me it's the real Trump because I know him personally, and he's not that way in private. You have very serious conversations with him. I've sat with him around the table talking about the peace process in the Middle East. I've talked to him about the Abraham Accords. I've talked to him about recognition of Jerusalem, about the Golan Heights. I've talked to him about Supreme Court appointments. I remember he called me one day. I was on the porch of the Chilmark store among my former friends. Phone rings. Alan, it's Donald. You're always tempted to say Donald who? Donald, the president, President Trump. He was president at the time. Who should I appoint to the Supreme Court? This was shortly after Merrick Garland had been denied an opportunity to even get a hearing. I said, that's easy, Mr. President. You should appoint Merrick Garland. He laughed. He said, that's a good one. That's a good one. Now let's get serious. And, I told him that I thought Kavanaugh would be a good appointment, and he appointed him. And he said, when I make further appointments, I'll check with you. And we had serious conversations about the Supreme Court. He's a serious guy in private. But boy, put him in front of a microphone, in front of a TV camera, and he's eating cats and dogs, or he's talking about people eating cats and dogs. That was his worst moment. But there were other bad moments as well. And these are unforced errors. These are mistakes that didn't have to be made. Kamala Harris was exactly the opposite. She had standard, prepared, well-rehearsed answers, no matter what the questions were. First question was, how can you tell the American public that they're better off today under the Biden administration than they were under the Trump administration? That was a great question. She didn't answer it. She didn't even try to answer it. She had a prepared script. She said, I come from a middle-class family. No, she doesn't. She comes from an upper middle-class professorial family with all the advantages of being the daughter of a highly esteemed professional economist. Not a working class family. But in any event, she had her script and she wasn't going to deviate from it. And she did that to every question. She didn't even have to listen to the questions because she knew what her answers were going to be. She was the epitome of control. And he was the epitome of out of control.